Hello, Pet World, and welcome to Natura Petz TV. I'm Robert Semro, and I am joined by two extraordinary experts and leaders in the natural pet care world, Greg Tilford, Heidi Nevala. They're authors, they're lecturers. You see things written about them all the time because they're out there living and practicing in the natural pet world. And that's the goal with this show, is to really dive deeper. And as we go on throughout the series, we're going to talk about a lot of topics that can sometimes be a little bit confusing, or this person says this and this person says that. We're going to try and shine a light on pathways for you that you can feel comfortable with. And Greg, for me, it all starts off with the way that we think about holistic wellness. How do you encapsulate that?
Oh, absolutely. This is so important. This is the most important part of this entire series of programs. Is, you know, we've got to remember that we're taking care of animals first and foremost. They're not human. They don't have our needs. They have different emotional needs. They have different physical needs. And we have to think in terms of their caregivers from a learning perspective as opposed to effective consumers. A good example, we walk down a supermarket aisle and we see pet foods on both sides of the aisle. And on one bag we might see a really pretty picture of maybe a wagon with steaks in it and all these cool vegetables, and we'll open the bag up and we'll sniff it and go, you know, that doesn't smell so bad. And actually there's human taste testers for this stuff, right? And we'll pull it out and it'll look like little lamb chops and it's different colors and everything else. And so we think, this is appealing to me. Right. This works for me. I like this product, so we buy it. And guess who's buying it and for who? We're buying it because it appeals to us. It's marketed for us. The truth is that we're by love and appreciation of these animals and taking care of the animals in our life, we have to think beyond that level of consumerism. We have to understand that they're different than us, and we have to also embrace the philosophy that we're not just taking care of a species of animal, we're taking care of an individual animal. Right. Every individual has different needs. Every individual human that's watching this program has a different need. Our dietary requirements are different from one another, our exercise requirements, and those requirements change continuously. They're not static at all. Day to day, these requirements change with the weather, the way we feel, viral infections, our emotional environment, the cleanliness of our environment. Everything affects the individual needs, and we respond differently. We have different tolerances. We have to change the way we think, and it begins with realizing that we're not just taking care of a non-human family member has a human name and we dress with human clothes and everything else we do, but a whole different animal that we have to learn the true nature of in order to respectfully take care of that animal. It's extremely important. What do you think, Heidi?
And once we do that, it forces us to analyze our own behaviors and habits and how we're taking our own daily lifestyles and putting on a pet. Because one of the parts of holistic wellness, the way I look at it, is we're now starting to say, why not natural? If we're looking at the body as a whole, whether it's a human or an animal body and what the needs are, we have to assess it from end to end. That includes the diet, the food, our home environments, our behaviors to our pets, and where we could do better. And we're finding that with more education, that translates into we need to do filtered water. Diet's a bigger conversation, we'll get to that. And then the products we use in our home, a lot of us have products unassumingly or knowingly that are hurting our animals, also hurting our own wellness. So a holistic wellness forces us to be educated and then to make the changes, because really it's a fundamental change. It's a belief system, it's a lifestyle, it's a commitment, and it's also not easy to live that way. Right. Once you understand what's the potential, what scents do to your pets, like what is emitted through candles and the toxins in those candles if they're not natural, then you have to start scaling back almost everything in your home, or at least analyzing it, because this is what it does to me as a human, much different what it does to a pet.
Yeah, and the opportunity is coming to us in a whole different perspective than going to school. It's coming to us for the love of something that is non-human and innocent in our home, teaching our children values that we can't even grasp, like unconditional love and patience, and they just bring so much to us. And the opportunities here of understanding their ways, respecting their ways, stepping beyond our minds and our ways to accommodate theirs, it deepens the entire bond, and it heals everybody involved in the picture. It's not just about taking care of the animal, it's about improving the quality of life in the entire house. And I believe that this whole natural and holistic animal movement is going way beyond the household. I mean, I go into pet
Absolutely,
stores
right.
in Portland and Seattle and other places where it's not just a place people go buy food and go buy toys and whatever. It's a community gathering place.
Yeah.
And they're sharing stories, they're sharing issues that their pets have. They bring their dogs with them, and the dogs play at the same
Exactly.
time, and they're having yappy hours and drinking champagne. And you know what? It's increasing and improving the quality of life in that community. And it all started by bringing that puppy home.
And just
And
think,
people are starting to get it.
just
you
think
know?
how different, like you're talking about lifestyle, how different it is because pets are integrated. Even though we humanize them, and now we're understanding that necessarily what our own health needs or how we deal with our own health needs necessarily translate directly. But now they're traveling with us, and so the whole scope of wellness is we understand the mental, physical, spiritual, all those kind of wellness benefits from interacting with our pets. So that's part of it too, where it's come full circle.
Yeah.
They're a family, but now we understand. Okay, we have to treat their holistic wellness.
I've had the opportunity to lecture and promote my book in Japan several times, and I love going to Japan because they seem to be getting it from the perspective we're talking about. I mean, we're looking at a place with 34 million people in one greater Tokyo area, and they literally have lawns on top of skyscraper roofs. And this is in a country where 80% of people that were born in Tokyo that have never left never see the Milky Way. They can't. They have a very limited compared to us. We're fortunate in America with all this expanse, and other places of the world. But they have this need to be connected with nature, and they're finding it through these animals, and they love them so, and they have got an open mind toward embracing and honoring and respecting the needs of those animals, and they know that it's bringing a healthier lifestyle into their own homes for their humans.
And every
companions
culture you're
as well.
talking about, every culture has a different way of interacting and defining that, and that information is getting spread to everyone now. So it's all filtering down into this topic. So we're all evolving with it.
Well, I want to pick up on that topic. There's a big shift now and awareness in supporting wellness overall and on a continual basis, as opposed to the more common and the past way of doing things, which was just go after the symptoms.
Absolutely. As an herbalist, a lot of herbalists in my community, herbalist community, have a saying that they say that the whole plant is greater than the sum of its parts. And what that means is that, pharma and science can extract one constituent. Something like 40% of our drugs are derived from a botanical premise, meaning we got the idea there. They take it away and hopefully can make a drug that is designed to approach a symptom of disease or one very specific narrow-focused purpose, right? But the whole plant works in these synergistic ways between thousands of chemicals that we can't even explain to work in all these different ways. And the body works the same way. The behaviors in a house and the way we treat our animals works the same way. It's a universal thing. And so the whole body is greater than the sum of its parts, and the whole world is greater than the sum of its parts. And again, the animals are coming into our lives, giving us this opportunity to learn. I mean, we look at what the greatest problems are with chronic animal, disease. I'm losing a dog to pancreatic cancer right now as I tape this program. I'm hoping that the call doesn't come in.
Right.
But I can't help but wonder, knowing what I know, having grown into what I've become as a educator and an expert in what I do, what I could have done differently. But I also realize that I might succumb to the same disease.
Exactly.
And they live on this accelerated life pattern.
Right.
They're dying from the same things that we are. Like canaries in a coal mine, they're there every day, loving us, selflessly saying, I'm here. I don't live in anticipation of death like you do.
Right.
But I almost feel like, wow, all of these animals in my life have come trying to teach me something. And I feel almost embarrassed, like I haven't honored that amazing gift.
I think we all understand that.
And I'm just starting to get it. I'm 56 years old and I'm just starting to get it.
Well, I think we all have that though. I mean, I just lost my best friend, and my first questions once I was out of the initial grieving process was, what didn't I do? What could I have done differently? And as you pointed out, now that I know differently, gosh, I should have done this, and I wish I had done that. But it still all comes back to what you started with, and that is that bio-individuality that we all have as beings.
Right.
One thing doesn't work for every person. It doesn't
Right.
work for every animal.
Right.
Right.
And that approach, I think, is something that I'm encouraged that we're now starting to address it from that
Right.
perspective.
I think we're getting through the phase of human existence where the excuse that I just can't handle the truth doesn't work so much anymore. A good example are the number of deaths in the United States alone that, and I'm not knocking conventional drugs. I think conventional medicine has its part in its role in the holistic picture too, and integrative therapies, and I'm sure we'll talk about that during this series. But over 150,000 people die every year in the United States alone as a result of appropriately prescribed prescription drugs. And it's not because the drug's bad, it's just because that particular drug's not good for that individual.
Right.
And so going back to pet care, we look at the way I was raised. I was raised with dogs and cats, and I remember watching TV commercials on a little 12-inch black and white screen, and you can't change your dog's diet because it will create digestive upset. Keep feeding her food every day. And it doesn't work that way. Everybody's got a different need. Everybody's got an individual need.
And that's what you're talking about too, is it translates into how we've mostly operated in treating animal wellness has been through a conventional medical system.
Right.
And there's a lot of, there's definitely a place for it in holistic medicine as well.
Right.
Sometimes there's a need, and we have to go that route. But there's some shortcomings, and our animals have inherited that. The suppression of symptoms, the lack of discovery or exploration of what actually is causing the disease. There's not even a discussion necessarily in conventional medicine about that.
Right.
It's usually a one-size-fits-all for vaccinations or synthetic medications. It's surgery, chemical interventions, and those kind of pathways that we've been taking that they don't actually translate the same way into animals in terms of how they manifest disease. It's also not working for us as the human pet parents either. So traditional medicine fits well into the holistic wellness movement, and people are now turning to at least the possibility of exploring plant and marine-based therapies. They generally have less side effects. Like you said, they have a cascade of primary and secondary plant chemicals that are healthy, and they manifest differently in the body, and they might be targeted to something specific our pet needs at the time, but then there's this backdrop of other things that it does for the body that we didn't even know would happen, that brings them back at least into a better place than where they began. Right. So this is it's another extension of it, and there's a lot of new therapies. It's really exciting what's going on in holistic wellness, the movement. I shouldn't even call it the movement because now it's here, right? It's arrived. But the light therapies, the acupuncture, hydrotherapy, nutritional therapies, and I also we should probably talk about holistic vets or integrative vets and their role in now not only bringing those therapies, but how they approach animal wellness is much more comprehensively than perhaps
on an
the
individual
conventional.
one-by-one
exactly.
basis. Again, the picture of the drugs. It's not that the drugs are bad, it's just that drug is inappropriate for the people that don't tolerate it.
Right.
Right.
Same with food. One food's great for one dog, it might not be great for the other. And you're absolutely right, Heidi. I mean, it's a broader perspective, and until people are willing to capture that and embrace it and push forward to learn how to open their minds and look holistically at the bigger picture, things aren't going to change.
And
I see a revolution happening.
Yeah, and there's got to be information like this.
Yeah.
For a long time, it was sort of trickling in. Now, if there's an explosion and people are getting on
Right.
board, they want to know more.
And I think the other thing too is the big picture is changing for a lot of folks. There's one way of doing it. Now it's, hey, what we do has an impact in a cyclic effect. What we do impacts our pets. What our pets do impact us. We're all feeding off of each other throughout the entire environment and interaction process. We're feeding, they're feeding. And as you said, going back to the manifestations and whatnot, it's a time in history now where we're saying, I am an individual, and therefore there are individual solutions for me, and there are individual solutions for my pets, and we've got to have those discussions. And those discussions just didn't take place
Absolutely.
in the past.
Well, I think we're also, I think what's helping to bring those conversations to being is a deep understanding of just how important companion animals are to us. I mean, the science even supports, I mean, lots of science supports that
Absolutely.
they lower our blood pressure. They're helping, with palliative therapies in cancer patients.
Right.
They're helping behavioral issues in our children. They're helping emotional issues for sure. I mean, they're doing so much by virtue of what they are that we're not. And so,
It's a great point. There are so many things that we're going to cover in this series, and this is just a great sampling. I want to close out, though, with an important tip for all of you, because if you're not doing this, please pick up a pen and paper and start doing it right now, or grab your tablet. You should be keeping a pet care diary. It's interesting, we talk about noticing the changes. So many of us went to, gosh, why am I getting overweight? Why is my body changing? And as we started to keep track of what we're eating, we see why we're seeing some of those changes. Daily, if not weekly, you should be doing a snout to tail check and noticing and keeping track of the things that maybe today are normal, but 3 weeks from now, you notice that change.
even the little stuff.
Exactly.
A little
so
bump
important.
at the base of the tail, or he has no energy in the morning and he's a wild dog in the afternoon.
Or I fed this particular food, or I used this herbal supplement and I noticed a perking up, or I noticed, hey, they were lethargic. Whatever it may be, if you're keeping track of it, you're going to be much more likely to see the changes, note the changes, know what you should be doing, or maybe what you need to adjust. So do that pet care diary, please. We beg all of you.
These are the tools of a holistic veterinarian's trade. Nobody knows your pets better than you do.
So well said.
And
so
in order for a holistic practitioner to work well, they have to talk to you. You are the first line of health, defense, and wellness for your animals. And you shouldn't forget that. You should embrace that. It's not always easy work, but you know what? It's the least we can do for these amazing animals that have come into our lives.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, folks, thank you for joining us here on Natural Pets TV. We look forward to talking about more important topics in future episodes. Financial and other considerations have been provided by Animal Essentials, Natura Petz Organics, the National Animal Supplement Council, and the Well Dog Place. Hey, pet parents, thanks for joining us. I got to say, we are covering a lot of great topics, but I want to hear from all of you. What things do you want our experts to be talking about, educating, and sharing with you? Put that in the comments section down below. In the meantime, if you want more information about my good friend Greg Tilford, you can get that at theanimalherbalist.com or at animalessentials.com, or from my other good friend Heidi Nevala, visit naturapets.com. And as always, you can find us at petworldinsider.com.